let's preach. In logic, yeah, let's preach of the heart. In logic, yeah.
Hello and welcome to It's Your Voice, the show that hosts enriching conversations in diversity. My name is Bahia Yaksan. I'm a diversity educator and a core alignment coach, which means I train people in identifying patterns of bias, learning how to step out of them, and cultivate new patterns of attitudes and behaviors that are far more inclusive and create a greater sense of belonging for anyone around. If you want to check out some of my sample courses, you can go to my website, which is knowwhatyouvantcoaching.wordpress.com. We have an amazing episode tonight, and I'm really grateful for my two guests. And I think I'm going to read their bios because I don't want to miss a word. What they've done already is amazing, and I think if our engineer can bring them out, people can see who I'm talking about. Thank you so much. Welcome. So good to see you. And I'll read your bios, and thank you for waiting while I do this. So we're talking to Osama Iluwat and Rotem Levin, and the title of this episode is Collective Liberation for Israel and Palestine. So incredibly significant, important, and needed. The show description is Palestinian and Israeli peace activists share their personal stories about realities on the ground and a path toward collective safety and liberation. We invite you to hear their perspectives, vision, and experiences about humanity in times of dehumanization and war, and about their hope and the courage to share this hope publicly. They will share their personal stories of transformation, lessons of joint peaceful resistance, and the vastly different realities they face in the same land. Osama has been a dedicated peace activist for over 15 years, working with organizations across the field. He's a co-founder of Salt of the Earth and speaks regularly for organizations and universities all around the world. When Osama is not working for peace internationally, he supports his community in Jericho and others in the West Bank to stay on their land and rebuild homes, parks, and schools. He also offers political educational tours in the West Bank. Osama taught himself Hebrew in order to connect on the land and regularly participate in trauma healing work and workshops. He believes deeply in the importance of personal, social, and political healing between Palestinians and Israelis. Rotem Levin was born and raised in Israel. After his military service, he participated in a transformational intensive dialogue program in Germany, where he got to know Palestinians on a personal and intimate level. Afterwards, he started organizing similar programs in Jordan, dedicated himself to learning Arabic, and began building solidarity relationships with Palestinians. He moved to Beit Jala, a Palestinian village in the West Bank, in 2020 to get to know his neighbors' reality. When Rotem is not giving conferences for peace internationally, he invests most of his time creating healing spaces for Israelis and Palestinians on the land. Thank you both so much for everything that you're doing to benefit the whole world. And I think you might be exhausted because you have a very busy schedule. You've been traveling a lot and providing a lot of people this amazing, powerful education through your stories. I went to ask I want to ask how you are, and then just give you the floor because you will use every minute far better than I could. But if you can share how you are.
Thank you. So for me, I am good. I mean, physically, I'm good. Emotionally, we all know where we are and what's going on. But I feel also I can't complain because I'm safe. I am fed. I am warm. I'm not like the children of Gaza or the Palestinian prisoners who don't have food, who don't have blankets, who are suffering from diseases, both ways in West Bank, in Israeli jails, and in Gaza. So yeah, and I can't be tired. I don't allow myself to be tired. And I want to thank you for having us, because for me it's a duty to do what I'm doing while our people are killing each other. It's a duty to fight for freedom and justice before peace.
Mm.
And yeah, and now we are in the United States. We just give talk in Princeton University, and we came here to have this podcast with you. So I want to thank you, and I want to welcome you and all the people who are listening to us. And I would love to share a little bit about my background and how I came here. So first of all, I want to say that we are not here to convince people who's the victim and who's the not victim and who's more human than the other. We are not here to win conversations. We are not here to victimize a side and forget that the other side is a human being. We are here to talk about realities and to talk about injustice and to talk about international corrupted community that they are not standing for their beliefs and not standing for the international law and not standing for human rights, and that's what allow our situation to be the way it is.
Thank you. Rotem, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm a bit exhausted. We do it since 14 months almost, speaking every day. We just finished another talk in Princeton University, and yeah, I feel also like that I cannot stop what I'm doing, because while people are being massacred in our land every day and people don't have food, if I have the privilege to speak and the ability to speak to people and to bring the voice of the voiceless, I feel like it's a duty. And yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy because we keep following the reality and we keep seeing every day how the situation is keep escalating and millions of people don't have food, and it feels surreal, like, to realize that we are in 2024 and people don't have food, and it's all human made, it's all politics. So it makes me very sad that we reached this place and that we couldn't prevent it. And I think that it's never too late. It's never too late because it can get much worse. And I think at some point, if we will not wake up and change the direction, it will reach everyone. It will reach all of us, because when there is injustice somewhere, it means, or it endangers justice everywhere. And it will reach also US land or the Turtle Island or whatever people want to call this place.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, it's time to wake up and to realize what is happening. And again, we are doing it not to convince you that one side is more human than the other. There are humans on both sides, both are traumatized, both believe that they fight for their existence, both believe they are victims, and this is the problem. And we need to educate ourselves, and we need to change the system for the sake of all of us, because this system endangers all of us from the river to the sea. No one is going to be safe as long as this system exists. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rotem, do you want to start with some of your background and then
Sure.
turn it over when it's time to turn it over to Osama?
So yeah, I was born and raised in Israel as a Zionist, like basically everyone. I believe that Zionism is my safety, that we have a Jewish and democratic state. And yeah, I didn't know anything about Palestinians. I grew up in a Jewish bubble. I didn't know Arabic because they don't teach us Arabic in the Israeli schools. And the time of the second Intifada, I was 10 years old, so I started to hear about suicide attacks and buses are being exploded every week, and I was scared, I was terrified, because who are these Palestinians? I cannot see them around me. Like in my school, there were only Jews. In my village, only Jews. So the segregation creates this, let's say it's much easier to feed you with narratives or fear mongering when you don't know the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was raised in a militarized society. It means that everyone goes to serve in the army. This is the normal thing to do. So for me, growing up in this society, I realized that when I will be 18 years old, I will go and serve in the army because everyone used to do it. All my teachers, all my family, all my village. So the army, it was maybe like your college. You know, you don't question it. Once you finish high school, you go to college. And yeah, I started to realize that again, because the military is plays such a central role in my society. Later in life, if I go and serve in the best units, it will be easier for me. It will help me to find the best jobs, maybe to be accepted to the best universities. For instance, I studied medicine. First question to medical school, where did you serve in the army? And when I said the name of the unit, it was one of the best units. The interviewer had a huge smile on his face, and I knew I passed the exam at the interview. And yeah, during the army service, I had one night when my team was taken to the West Bank. It was the first time I go to the West Bank, to the other side of the wall, and there I was asked to throw a shock grenade on one of the yards. And yeah, I did it because this is what I was trained to do, to follow orders the best way I can. And on the way back to the base, suddenly one of the soldiers, one of my friends, came to me and told me, you know, I think we shouldn't do such things. And I remember I wasn't ready to hear it. I wasn't prepared, and I felt somehow this connection in this moment, and I was confused, and I felt, yeah, what are we doing here actually? And the commander came here just talking about it, and he told me, you are a soldier, you do what you are told to do, and this is the end of the conversation. I don't want to hear about it anymore. And for me, I think this night I cannot forget it, and it created the first crack in my understanding that there is here something bigger than me, that I'm part of it, but I don't feel really aligned. And I didn't really know the whole picture, and I really didn't understand what occupation means, but I felt that I did something that I don't really, I can't stand or I can't support. And yeah, luckily these years were relatively quiet, so I didn't have to fight or to shoot anyone during my army service, my 3 years of mandatory service, and I was released physically and mentally healthy. And yeah, later, like a year later, I found myself in Germany participating in one of these dialogue programs with Palestinians from the West Bank. And it was at the age of 23, it was the first time I meet Palestinians from the West Bank. And it was the first time I hear about the Palestinian narrative. And I learn about the parallel universe that exists only 1 hour drive from my home on the other side of the world. But I've never imagined it exists because, again, I was told always by my society, it's very dangerous there. You shouldn't cross the wall. They might hurt you if they know that you are an Israeli. And then I learn about like things that I've never heard before, about Nakba, about refugee camps, about massive ethnic cleansing that enabled the establishment of the Jewish state, about hundreds of villages that were destroyed, about 2/3 of Palestinian population were expelled. And for me, like, I was shocked because how come I didn't hear about it? Why did I have to go all the way to Germany to learn about the history of my homeland? And yeah, later I learned that like in Israel, there is a system to prevent us, the Israelis, from actually realizing what is happening. So in the Israeli school system, you are not allowed to mention the Nakba. And the media, of course, it's completely complicit with all this narrative. And in theaters, you are not allowed to mention Nakba and etc. Like you have many ways and practices that Israel uses to prevent Israelis from realizing what is happening. And And Nakba, it means catastrophe, if someone doesn't know, in Arabic, and this is the term Palestinians use to describe what happened to them in 48 when the Jewish state was established. Our independence is their catastrophe.
Mm.
And yeah, it was a lot, and I felt like the bubble exploded. And I started to get to know more Palestinians and to learn Arabic and to have solidarity relationships. And at some point I moved to the West Bank to live with my new friends. And there I started to understand what it means actually to live under military occupation, what it means, this wall, because for me this wall, it was the security wall. Suddenly this wall is the apartheid wall. It is there to confiscate their lands. It is there to prevent freedom of movement. In weekend, I'm allowed to go to the beach in Tel Aviv because I'm Jewish. I can take my car across the checkpoint and I'm at the beach. My Palestinian friends in the West Bank, they cannot do it. So we have a whole generation of 20, 30 years old teenage, like adults. They have never seen the beach just because they are not Jews.
Wow.
So this is unbelievable and unbearable, and this is the reason why we have violence. The violence, they keep telling us the violence is because they hate us and they don't want us here. No, we cannot. Any human being will resist under these circumstances. No one will accept this like discrimination. No one will accept to be second-class citizens if he was born in 48, and if he was born in the West Bank or in Gaza, is dead or animal or is stateless. So we have to understand that the system is the problem. The system is the source of the violence. And yeah, we want to live in peace. We need to live in peace, but we have to create equality and justice. We cannot live in peace under such circumstances. And yeah, we are here to trying to tell the world that we can live in peace, Israelis and Palestinians. This is not the problem. The problem is the system. We have to change the system, then we can live in peace and hopefully in safety and security and everything. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. Just filling in details so many people have never ever heard. It's just very enlightening, and the compassion that you both are you sharing, the fact that you learned Arabic and Osama learned Hebrew to be able to communicate with people you weren't even allowed to know is very powerful.
Thank you.
Osama, are you
Yeah,
going to step in here?
thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, and I grew up on the same land, different reality, different story, different life, different laws, even, you know. We live on the same land. We receive rights according to our faith. If you are Jewish, you are full citizen with all the rights. If you are Palestinian, you have less rights. So, yeah, so the catastrophe, the Nakba in 48 story was the first stories of my grandmother, my great grandmother, I heard since I was kid about how when the Jewish people came to the land, they destroyed their villages and they killed them and they massacred them and they buried them and they raped them and they had to leave, to flee to East Jerusalem. And 67 war from East Jerusalem, they ran to Jordan, and none of them, not of my whole family, the big family, was allowed to come back because that was the second transfer for the Palestinians. And the transfer is still happening until today, different levels, different ways. Yeah. And my family, my grandfather was brave enough to sneak back to the land. He was the only one from his whole family who sneaked back to the land, to Jerusalem. And we were expelled from Jerusalem again in the 80s because there's a lot of laws for Arabs only. If Arabs don't live like we have like a green card in Jerusalem, we don't have citizenship. So we are residents, even though I know 7 grandfathers, great grandfathers were born in Jerusalem, I'm still resident, not citizens of my own country. And every American, Russian, Ethiopian, Moroccan, I don't know, Jew in the world have more rights on my land than me. Yeah, so that's all what I knew about Judaism. I used to see full armed soldiers in front of my school. Soldiers used to shoot at our school, tear gas. We ran terrified as children. I was traumatized most of my life from these people, and the only thing I knew about them that they are Jews and they are colonizers and they are not from the land and they don't belong here, and they came to control my life, and they were proving this every day that they don't care about me, they care about themselves. And yeah, and at the age of 14, when I grew up in a place where there is shooting and killing and fears and occupation and soldiers and army and military rules every day, I start to resist like everyone else. And I started to write graffiti on the walls, and I started to raise the Palestinian flags. And yeah, and I was arrested for that because we Palestinians don't have any rights. We live under military rules. The army can arrest us for no reason. There is a law in Israel called administrative detention that they can arrest any Palestinian, kidnap any Palestinian, keep them in jail from 1 day up to 3 years without trial, without going to court. And if we go to court, we don't go to the court, the same court like Rotem or like the settler who lives 5 minutes away from me. I go to military court where the army is the judge, and they are the police, and they are the judge, and they are the civil. There's no civil services for me. And yeah, and to be honest, I wasn't resisting as a kid because I want to liberate Palestine and kick the Jewish people out. I was resisting out of fears, out of trauma of this soldier who used to beat my teacher, who killed my friends, who arrested my father, who scared my sisters, who demolished the house of my neighbor. That's all what I knew about them. Yeah, and then I started to hear about peace agreement, about Oslo agreement, and felt so happy that we're gonna reach this peace and we're gonna have kind of safety because as a kid, as a teenager, I was not allowed to leave the house after sunset. I did not feel safe in my house. I did not feel safe in my school. They used to enter to our schools and beat our teachers. And after a few years of Oslo, I started to realize that this piece is not really working. You know, they promised us to give us 22% of our homeland, and every day they are building settlements, they are destroying our homes, building illegal settlements, controlling our life, controlling our income, controlling our economy, controlling our borders. And this is against the international law and this is against the peace agreements, but all the democratic countries in the world are supporting them no matter what. And I felt like this is hypocrisy and this is not right. And I wanted to resist again and again, and I kept resisting because I felt life doesn't mean anything when you don't have rights, when you don't have any kind of hope for the future, when you don't have job, when you don't have playgrounds, when you don't have theater, when you don't have like whatever stage to sing or to dance or to do anything in your life. You have only soldiers and army and fears and killing and death. Yeah, so I was like doing all what you imagine until I get arrested again. And yeah, and I was very lucky that with Oslo agreement I was released at the beginning before I joined them, and that's why I joined them. And then I felt like this is not working. The only way is to fight. The only way to fight against this occupation is to fight them, to hurt them the same way they hurt you. And in 2010, I ended up in a place where I met a group of Israeli Jewish people by chance. And I was so mad that I ended up there because, you know, as a Palestinian who believe that I'm the only victim in the world and I have all the rights and I have the right to resist and the whole world against me, I felt like why I would listen to these people. They even killed their own prime minister because he signed peace agreement. Yeah, and I ended up listening, and I found out that no, you know, I don't know everything, And maybe there is something I need to learn in this life, even though I believe I'm the smartest one and my beliefs are none broken. No one can change it, you know. And I started to hear Israelis talking about catastrophe, talking about the Nakba, talking about acknowledgement of what they have done, talking about occupation, talking about fighting this system that support or serve one people and don't support the other, and they are willing to fight with me and to stand with me and to danger their jobs and their work and their future to support me. And yeah, and I started to think, in order to break the system, I can't keep using their own tools. They want me to hate, because hating each other is the best way to serve the system. And you can't change system by using their own tools.
Mm.
Hate and separation and being the only right one and being the victim, that's what they want me to be. And I decided maybe to break the system, to work against the system. The system wants me to be enemy with Rotem. I want to be friend. They want us to be separated. We decided to be united. They wanted us to fight each other to keep the occupation. We are fighting together to end the occupation. And I created a group called Visit Palestine to bring Israelis and Palestinians to meet each other and to see each other and to, because when people meet, they recognize each other humanity. They stop justifying the blood of each other. They stop dehumanizing each other and calling each other animals and names. And yeah, and that changed my life. And I brought a lot of Israelis to explain to them that, guys, we Palestinians don't hate Jews. We lived with Jews most of our life. We are fighting against a system that discriminate us, a system that gives one side all the rights and don't give the other side. And this system should break. And yeah, and to explain to them what it means to live under military rules, what it means that you don't have rights, what it means that you don't have running water in your house, that your city is closed by checkpoints, that the army can enter and kidnap and kill every day, and there is no accountability for that. No one's saying. And if I raise my voice, I'm a terrorist. And if I fight violently, I'm a terrorist. And if I fight non-violently, I'm anti-Semite. And this is not right. I have the right to fight like everyone else in the world, because when people are occupied, resistance is justified. But fighting violence with violence was, for me, just feeding this circle of violence. So I decided to keep fighting, and that's why I don't call myself peace activist. I call myself peaceful freedom fighter. I work for freedom, for justice, for equality. Yeah, and I believe this is the way. I believe keep dreaming, keep talking about Palestinians will be expelled from the land and it will be only Jewish country. This will never happen. And keep dreaming about Jews will leave the land and we will have Palestine back. This will never happen. Future is more important than the past. Yeah. Keep stucking there in the past, in the circle of the chicken and the egg, is good to acknowledge things, but it's not good to stuck there. And it's not good to keep ignoring the rights and the existence of each other and the realities of each other. And yeah, and I decided to change my way of fighting in a way that can guarantee the freedom and the security of the Palestinians and the freedom and the security of the Israelis, not because I am more human than anyone, because that's what's gonna happen in the end. That's what happened in South Africa, that's what happened in Australia, that's what happened in America, that's what happened in Canada. Even if I want to call them colonizers don't leave. Unfortunately, you need to find a way to reach rights and to change the system from within. When you have all the rights, you can, like what happened in South Africa, it's a big example for changing the systems from within, from inside. And yeah, and that's where we are, and that's why we are here to tell the Americans, to tell the Palestinians, to tell the Israelis, Israel, Palestine, bro, everyone, you are right, you both are right, and you both are wrong. And between right and wrong, there is a big field. Meet us there.
Wow.
Yeah. And to say to the world, as a Palestinian, I want my children to be dancers. I want my children to be lawyers. I want them to be architects. I want them to be singers. I want them to be players. So please don't keep supporting the occupation and make our kids fighters and then call them terrorists.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Like, this is so deep and so moving, and just shedding so much clarity. It's incredible. It's just incredible modeling, and something we see too little of in the world so far. But with your courage, your combined courage, and your combined commitment, I think is just really inspiring a lot of people, and I do believe it's going to grow. I want to ask about the. I think you said there's a field between right and wrong. Like, yes, we're right and we're wrong. Yes, the other side's right and wrong, but there's a field in the middle. Is that what you said? I think it just was really helpful to talk about how you two found the field, like, and how you two found each other, and because that's enormous. If you two hadn't done that, if you both hadn't worked on healing from your own trauma, if you hadn't both worked on accountability, if you hadn't both been willing to be vulnerable and examine and be honest, and speak the truth, which takes a tremendous amount of courage, the talks and the education you're giving wouldn't be happening. And so can you tell us more, partly to like inspire and also to educate us, like what else can I do? What else can any listeners or viewers do that we're not doing, that you guys have just created a new mold, or use an old good one that's still way underutilized?
Yeah, it was a long journey. We met 7 years ago, me and Osama, when we started giving similar talks to Israeli teenagers mostly, but also international groups and Palestinian groups, and yeah, we became good friends, and yeah, there were many challenges along the way, of course, a lot of triggers, but we were consistent, and we knew that the friendship is above and the most important thing, and yeah, we work on it every day. It's not like that it's done and that's it. Every day you have new challenges, every day you have conflicts, but we are getting much better, and we know each other so well now, and yeah, it's about to exactly, maybe there is right in both sides, and maybe we sometimes have to listen, and to realize that what the other side feels is not what I feel, and what it means to someone else, it doesn't mean the same to me. So we experience different things simultaneously, and we have to understand that, like, sometimes both of us are the victims, and sometimes there is pain on both sides, and we have to somehow take responsibility and sit and talk and listen, and to see how we move forward together. And yeah, it's a lot of work, but this is the only way. There is no other way. We have to create the alternative. We have to build the alternative. If we'll just keep fighting the exist without actually working on the relationship and on what we envision for this place, it will not happen. If we keep fighting the system and just fighting the system without working on what we want to do together, how we can be together on the land, how we can share the land, I think it's only partial. So yeah, we are here to say we have to fight the system, we have to build a new system, and we have to create bridges. We have to find ways to be together and to recognize each other. And yeah, I hope we inspire people, and we need your help. We need everyone's help, especially in the US, because without the support of the US, this horrific situation will not continue one day even. They are those who send the weapons, they are those who veto in the UN resolutions. So we need every American to understand that you are also complicit in this situation. And we need to unite and build the movement and to show them what we want them to do, because we are those who elect them. They work for us. And sometimes they forget it.
Yeah.
That's so many great points you just made.
Yeah. And I want to say, a wise person said, yesterday I was smart and I wanted to change the world. And today I became wise and I decided to change myself.
Mm.
And I think that's where the change starts. Because we decided if we don't live in peace, we should allow peace to live in us.
Mm.
We should understand that we both are human beings. Rotem, it's not his fault if his grandfather was colonizer or he came back to his land or he occupied me or whatever. And it's not my fault that he has the Holocaust. But if we keep fighting over these things again and over again, we're just feeding this circle of violence. And when you succeed to leave the storm behind you, you will not even remember those who hurt you. You will not even remember those who want to hurt you. But karma will remember and will never forget. And I believe there is a reality and there's a dream. And for me, my dream is to see everyone living on the land equal. The reality is difficult today, but the dream is to see everyone living on the land equal, where all of us have the same rights, have the same freedom of movement, speaking the same language, living at the same cities, using the same public transportation, studying in the same schools. That's how we break the system. That's how we make change. By fighting together, not by fighting each other. And yeah, and I believe this is the way, and believe this is our hope. And I believe, it just keep fighting to be right will not take you anywhere. For me, I don't want to be right. I want to be happy. I want to be safe. I want to be free.
These words are so profound. I wanted to make sure I read a question that a listener asked, and then we'll have time for you. I want to just kind of recapture some of the things like that each of you said, and then make sure you each have a closing thought. We still have 8 or 9 minutes. So we have 2 questions. One is, if you're willing to answer these questions, one is from Lenny asking, do your families get along and do things together? If you care to answer that question.
Yeah. So for me, my family always believed in peace, but they don't think this is helpful because they have seen all the international laws are broken in front of their eyes. The countries who are lecturing us for human rights and children rights and women rights and animals rights and gays rights and all these rights are sending weapons to support genocide and to support death and to support massacres and not to support the humanity. So people are disappointed. Even we accepted 22% of our homeland and the world still don't recognize us. United States, who offered us the two-state solution, they keep calling me stateless until today. Germany called me stateless. All these countries, they don't see in me human being enough to be recognized. Yeah. So of course the family are disappointed. I have three nephews in jail, administrative detention since 7th of October. They don't have food, they don't have blankets, they have diseases, they all have scabs in their skin. There are 8,000 Palestinian prisoners in jail. The world is not aware about them, not talking about them. So of course they are disappointed, but they believe peace is the way when there is justice. Peace is the way when the international community really stand and support peace. Peace is the way when both sides need peace and when the international law stop everyone against peace. But now they believe it's a mess, it's no man's land, and peace is impossible. But they still believe I am doing what's right for me and for my children and for my family.
Thank you so much. Rotem, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I think my family, they want peace, but it's difficult for them to imagine something beyond the current system, or let's say a state where everyone is equal. When there is no Jewish majority, it's difficult for them to imagine this scenario. I was trying to like introduce them to my Palestinian friends, and they even once came with me to Jericho to meet Osama, and they showed them the whole area, and yeah, it's a long process because for me, I dived into the other reality. I learned the language, I lived with them, and for my parents, they came few times, so it still feels very different for them, and I think what helped me, yeah, the language, the relationships. I don't see difference. I see Palestinians as Israelis. For me, it's the same. But for many people who live in the bubbles, it's difficult to imagine a different reality when this is everything that you know, right? So for my parents, it's still challenging, and especially 7th of October was very difficult on them, and yeah, it's a lot of work, and I'm trying to explain to them. But yeah, for Israelis also, when you are being fed by the Israeli media, and you keep hearing about the 7th of October until this day, actually, the Israeli media keep pushing stories from the 7th of October without showing the Israelis what is actually happening in Gaza, which is complete destruction, right? Complete massive ethnic cleansing, starvation, and they don't see it. They don't see it as on every day like the rest of humanity. So there is a huge bubble, and yeah, we do our best to somehow build bridges and to.
Thank you.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. I'll just read out loud Macy's question. Thank you, Lenny. Thank you, Macy. And then I'll just try to recapture some of the incredible, profound ideas that you're stating, both of you. And then I'll hand it over to y'all again. Anyway, Macy's question was, do you think we can ever reach peace in the world? And anyway, I just feel like I want to emphasize how you're both saying, the change has to start with me. We have to do our work. And then Osama said, and then Rotem, you said consistently, and you have to hold friendship and peace and justice above anything else. And that you're both asking for there is no peace without justice, and asking for equality for all human beings with the same rights, the same access, the same transportation, no second-class citizen, no apartheid treatment, and for the international community. So there's the work we need to do in ourselves, and we need to be educated enough to listen to international laws and object when they are being violated, and use our voices to add to your voices. And we have 3 minutes left, and I just want to hand it over, and well, I guess we'll go back to Osama and then back to Rotem for your closing thought.
Thank you. So if we can reach peace, I will say yes. And reaching peace is finding peace inside you. And for us as Palestinians, hope is not even an option. Hope is a must. And we can't live without hope. And the minute you start to lose hope, look at the Palestinian mother in Gaza who lost her husband and her child, and she's still collecting wood to make food for her child who's still alive and injured, without hand and without leg. Where do she bring the hope from? Ask the doctors who don't have hospitals, who don't have equipment, who don't have medicines, and they keep taking care of thousands of injured people where the American bombs are falling 2,000 tons at their heads. Where they bring hope from? So for us to lose hope, it's a big shame if they can keep the hope. Hope is privilege, is a choice for the privileged people. But we Palestinians don't have the privilege to lose hope. The other thing I want to say, and this will be the last thing, I want to tell everyone, Israelis and Palestinians and the international community and everyone, there is enough place on the land for all of us. We are fighting over land, but there is enough place and space on the land for all of us. What's needed today is to expand our hearts and to have enough spaces in our hearts for each other. And that will make a big change on our situation.
Thank you so much.
And I want to invite everyone, Israelis and Palestinians, pro-Israel, pro-Palestine, to meet each other. And I want to end by Mahmoud Darwish. He's a Palestinian poet. Before he was expelled from Palestine in the 70s for his revolutionary poems, he was in love with a Jewish girl. And when he was in Lebanon, she sent him a letter asking when we are going to meet. He said, after a year and the war. She asked, when will the war end? He said, the time we meet. So meet, recognize the pain of each other, recognize the humanity of each other, recognize the rights of each other. Don't add separation to our separation. This will not help us. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rotem, do you want to take the last bit? And I forgot, people can donate. People can find your beautiful website, Salt of the Earth. I'm sure funding would help with your travels and getting more and more exposure for more and more people.
Yes, I just want to say that we are fighting for all the people, for all humanity, actually, because we believe that this conflict is not just about Israelis and Palestinians. It's about fighting a huge military-industrial complex that make millions of dollars so we can keep fighting and killing each other. So I'm here to call everyone. This is about humanity, this conflict, and it's about changing the whole system, because if we will keep following these criminals, it will reach everywhere. It will reach everywhere, and it's time to understand that military cannot solve conflicts. Military is not the way. We need to find ways to sit and talk and recognize each other's humanity and each other's trauma and each other's fears, and to change this military complex, because it will not end in Palestine. It will keep going from place to place to place, and we need to make it illegal, actually. These industry, and to start to find ways how to deal with conflict, but militarism is endangering all of us. And yeah, we need dreamers, we need people who know it. All of us know it in the heart, but we are scared to speak up. So we need dreamers and believers and people who know that this is the right way, and to find the courage to speak up. I know it might be scary, you might lose some privileges, but if we will keep swimming and following the stream, we will not create the change. Yeah.
Thank you both so much. I'm sorry we are out of time. I would love to have you back. We'll find another time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And listeners and viewers, thank you, our engineer. Thank you, our producer. Tune in next Wednesday, 8 p.m. And next Wednesday, yes, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And may we all have enriching conversations and diversity. Thank you both so much.
Thank you for the listeners. Don't give up on us. Don't forget us. You are our hope. Thank you.
Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech,